I'm Rachel Lindsay from the Buffalo News, and here's an update on the University of Buffalo football team, which hosts Massachusetts at 1 p.m. Saturday at UB Stadium. The big question is, how will the offense regroup after a 38-0 loss at number 6 Missouri? And how will the wide receivers in particular regroup with the loss of Nick McMillan, who won't play this weekend because of a left knee injury? J.J. Jenkins, a transfer for Columbia, is now penciled in on the depth chart as one of UB's starting wide receivers, along with Taji Johnson and Victor Snow. And UB's got to kick it up after having only 55 passing yards at Missouri, which is also the number 1 pass defense in the country. UB also needs to capitalize on possession. They only had 52 plays to Missouri's 83 last weekend. And UB's longest drive was 9 plays and 4.5 minutes. UB also has another factor they've got to look at. They're going to be playing UMass, coached by Don Brown. Don Brown is a bit of a defensive wizard. He was at Michigan, he was at Maryland, he was at UConn as a defensive coordinator, he was at Arizona as a defensive coordinator before taking over Massachusetts in 2022. Minutemen are going to focus on defense, and that's going to be a challenge for the Bulls coming out of that shutout at Missouri.
Let's touch on some injuries from Western Michigan. I got word from Lance Taylor that starting left tackle Adam Vandervest is going to be out for the year. He had a season-ending knee surgery. And Kenny Womack, their leading wide receiver, is dealing with a hand injury that he suffered in fall camp. He broke a bone in his left hand. He's considered week to week by the staff, but signs are looking towards Womack returning once MAC play kicks off here in a couple of weeks. So, the keys for Western Michigan against Bethune-Cookman on Saturday. It's got to start with Jalen Buckley. Buckley is the reigning MAC Freshman of the Year. He put up over 1,000 yards rushing last year, and he ran for a pair of touchdowns against Wisconsin. It's got to start with him. Got to establish the run. That's where the Broncos thrive. That sets up Hayden Wolf, their quarterback, in this passing game, who, obviously they're dealing with their leading wide receiver and injury, but I look for receivers like Anthony Sambucci, Malik Diadon, Bugs Mortimer, or Jordan Parker. One of those guys is going to step up and have a big game for them. It starts with running the football. That opens up the passing game. And I look for Hayden Wolf to take some more downfield shots under the new offensive coordinator, Walt Bell. Stretch the field vertically. I want to see some explosive plays. That will give Western Michigan some confidence, going into the middle of their season. The defense is going to need to contain the dual threat abilities of Ransom, and I look for their defensive line to really kind of establish themselves as a standout group. But the keys, again, it's got to be running the football. It's got to be show some explosiveness in the passing game, maybe a turnover or two from the defense to get themselves in the victory column. My prediction, Western Michigan 35, Bethune-Cookman 14.
Hey there, Maction fans. This is Cade Hampton with the Muncie Star Press giving you a quick report on the Ball State Cardinals. Ball State started its 100th football season with a 42-34 victory over Missouri State. Redshirt freshman QB Caden Simonza shook off an early pick six and scored 5 total touchdowns, throwing for 4 and running for 1. And Eastern Kentucky transfer running back Braden Sloan made his Cardinals debut in style with 149 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. On the defensive side of the ball, the Cardinals played suffocating defense, holding the Missouri State offense to 0 points in the first half and holding them to just 3 for 10 on third down conversions. For a quick injury report, wide receiver Justin Bowick was out for the game, and wide receiver Ty Robinson was hurt on the first play from scrimmage. Look for wide receiver Cam Pickett and Malcolm Gilley, as well as tight end Tanner Koziol, to step up if those two are unable to play this weekend. This weekend, the Cardinals will travel to South Florida to take on the Miami Hurricanes, and while it's not looking like a good game for the Cardinals, it's expected to be a pretty one-sided affair in the Hurricanes' favor. The Huskies of Northern Illinois showed us last week that anything can happen when the MAC comes to town.
The UMass game was pretty uneven for Toledo. Very weird game. UMass ran about, 88 plays. Toledo only had 45. It seemed like they either had 0 yards on a play or 40-yard touchdown on a play. Just so many explosive plays, a kickoff return. I think going into this week against Mississippi State, Toledo's defensive line, which had 15 tackles for loss and 5 sacks against UMass, can really set the tone at Mississippi State. In these types of games, whether it was close losses at Notre Dame or Illinois, or previously wins against Michigan, Penn State, Iowa State several times, Kansas, Minnesota, Purdue, Toledo's had a lot of them. The story of the game was always how good their defensive line played. I think they have to be active. Quarterback Blake Shapen, Baylor transfer, ironically, Jaquan Finn took his job at Baylor, has not thrown an interception since last November. He has 5 touchdown passes this season. He's completing nearly 70% of his passes. Toledo's defensive line has to get after him. And if they do, I think Toledo can win. And I think Toledo will win. I've had this feeling all summer. I think they're catching Mississippi State at a perfect time, quite literally, actually. They're coming off a road game at Arizona State last week, a night game. They didn't get back to Mississippi till after 6 a.m. on Sunday. I think that helps them. But this is also a rebuilding program. They have a first-year head coach. I think everything's just kind of set up for Toledo to win. I think it'll be a razor-thin margin, though. I expect regardless of who wins, it's going to go down to the final seconds of the fourth quarter.